Okay, let's be clear. To be honest, I did not expect to do this, and I know it might sound confusing, so let me take you back to where everything began. Back in 2012, came out a game by the name of Slenderman. Yep, and for those living in a cave like me actually, the goal was to collect 8 pages while avoiding this guy, which probably just wants your friendship, I guess. So, as it is my very first game, which means that I need something called experience that I don't have, I wanted to recreate Slenderman but with RGX graphics. However, I then realized two things. First of all, if you type Slenderman on YouTube, you can see there are plenty of videos already. Second of all, I don't know about you, but I'm not scared enough by this guy. I mean, okay, jump scares are scary, right? But after a lot of research, I realized three things. First, the more you see something, the less scary it becomes, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. But for my game, I really wanted it to be the opposite. Another thing is, humans have great imagination, meaning if a creature has big sharp teeth, you can be scared just by the fact of imagining how he can rip your butt with them. So the thing is, Slenderman has no face, no scary eyes, no sharp teeth, he has nothing actually.
Why you bully me?
I'm not, but I was like, okay, you know what? Instead, let's try making something a little bit scarier. And that's pretty much how we started, so the next day I went onto ZBrush and started creating the model using my incredible concept art. Sick, right? At this point I was just improvising a lot, and if you think by seeing these nipples that I definitely need a better reference, well, you actually might be right. And that's when Rem from Death Note magically came into my mind. Okay, so far so good. So after finishing the model, I did the retopology to get a low poly version of it. Then I baked the high res detail in Substance Painter, and here we are. But before showing the textures, I wanted to animate it first. So I made this skeleton with the IKFK rig control, and a really simple facial rig that reminded me these biscuits I used to eat as a kid, or just the dumb face I had. And still have. Whatever. So now we have the textures and the first animation I made, but we'll come back later because you probably want to see some gameplay, right? So the game is simple, you need to collect 8 pages, but I also added a story that involves an enemy, which actually you already saw in the cinematic, and trust me, in game he's just freaking scary. And at first I was like, okay, let's say there are 2 Slendermen, one good and one evil. But then I realized this was so different and I had so much new ideas that I actually ended up making a brand new story. So now let me introduce you Mr. Goodman. So this guy I made earlier is actually Mr. Goodman, and you need to collect 8 pages just like in Slenderman, but these are actually memory notes that this guy lost in a very big garden near a big mansion he lives in, and these 8 notes are so important that you actually can read them through your inventory. And in return of gathering them for him, he will actually let you sleep in the mansion, because staying in the forest at night is very dangerous. But be careful, because the Goodman family is quite special and there are very scary and dangerous members in it that you might meet in the garden. And that's it for now. By the way, if you liked the video so far, did you know that you could actually make me aware of it by just clicking one button? I know, that's crazy stuff. But the thing is, if you don't, this guy might want to rip your butt off, and listen, I'm just warning you, like I'm the good guy, you know?
Yes sir, yes sir.
What do you mean? Of course I am.
Yes sir.
Anyway, let's start by adding some movement. So after adding some movement in C++, I also created a texture for interaction, and now it works. But to make it more convincing, I added head bob movements using math and a sine curve, plus random footstep sound effects when walking. And now we can magically walk onto different surfaces. I also handled the case of using a controller while moving very slowly, and man, it was not easy, but hey, it works, so that's cool. So for the flashlight, I just modeled a flashlight in Maya, then I textured it and I imported it in Unreal Engine. Then I also added some weapon sway that I totally didn't have a hard time figuring out. It's way better like that. For the memory notes, I went into Designer first to have a basic texture, then I went into Maya and finally imported the thing in Substance Painter. So actually my first map was way too big, which led me to remake one, and I went from this to this and finally to this. But you'll see in a second that I also added some major changes in the map. For the enemy, I don't want to spoil you too much, so I'm gonna showcase the animations with Mr. Goodman. The first one is an idle animation, which I made in Maya, then this is the rendering in Unreal Engine, and this block of spaghetti is also an animation, which is the walk animation actually, here it is, and the run animation was probably the hardest to do, But now we have everything. So the animation is this one on the left, and after some work on the AI navigation path, which is basically where the AI is able to walk, I made my first behavior tree, which is responsible for the AI different states like patrolling, chasing, and so on. I placed some patrol points for the enemy to patrol. So now we can see that the AI is actually moving, and despite some minor bugs where he can get stuck for a few seconds, it globally works. In game I made it so that the closer you are to the enemy, the more you hear his breath and heartbeats. And finally, to wrap up the game, I made some UI pages on a software named Scratch to refine the game and just make it a little better. So now we have an option pages, we have audio settings where you can tweak the sounds, and finally we have a commands page where you can just check how to play the game. And now the game is finished. Wait, actually there is something really important I need to show you before telling you how to play the game. Because you see, my second hobby after watching Desperate Housewives, and I'm obviously kidding, that is actually to watch YouTube comments and Steam game reviews to really get what you guys want. But it's my first video and I don't have any subscribers. So after checking several Slenderman remakes, I found multiple great suggestions in the comment section. And this guy named Closet gave so much sauce, guys, that I had to, you know, taste it. You get my point. So I've added a lot of suggestions. Let's start by the rain. So these are particles effects that I made with the Niagara system. Then I also added some fog, which will really change the mood of the game. Then still based on suggestions, I made so that the environment changes with the collection of each notes each time. Then the guy also wanted some changes related to the trees, so I used Megascan assets to update the health of the leaves. And by just tweaking the other parameters available in the same asset, we can also update the wind, which is really cool. The last update finally is the leaves which end up leaving the tree. So let me sum up and at the same time show you how this works. So when you collect the first note, only the changes of the move speed of the enemy and the animation update. When you collect the second, then you can see the rain happens. And the leaves start to become brown actually, because the health is decreasing. So I went in the flowers because the enemy was coming, and this is, by the way, if I didn't mention it, the only way to escape the enemy. And you will know why when playing the game. But now, if we collect the third note, you can see that the storm is actually coming, the wind is really heavy, and yeah, the trees are really moving, which is really cool. And now check this out. The fog is there, and the atmosphere is really heavy, and the leaves are actually gone. The fifth note only updates the enemy movement, which updates at each note actually. Then the sixth note actually leads to a blackout, which again brings a brand new atmosphere. Now we are done with the game and the suggestions. So thank you guys for watching the video. It has been a great first dev experience with Unreal Engine, and I definitely learned a plethora of things that will be useful for my next games. So now I know that you'd like to play the game, and I think that you will, but the problem right now is I can't put the game on itch.io. It's actually 2.6 gigabytes and I tried to optimize it, but without success so far. And putting the game on Steam would require me to pay $100 that I actually can't afford for each free game I create, as I'm just a student. So if you guys have any suggestions, please tell me in the comments. Otherwise, I will try to put it on Steam whenever I'm able to do so. Anyways, if there is still nothing in the description, just watch my next available videos. You might really like what's coming next. So to not miss that, please subscribe to the channel, and yeah, see you soon, my friend. Cheers!